If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, joining me right now is one of the big winners on Saturday at UFC Newark. She defeated Mara Romero Barella via a vicious third-round TKO. She looked fantastic in the fight, and now she joins us on the show. Lauren Murphy is here. How about it, Lauren? How are you?
I'm good, man. What's up?
I'm living the dream right now. Not like you, though, but thinking about you and watching the fight, I mean, you've had some ups, some downs, some questionable decisions go against you. You've been a part of some exciting fights. You've gotten some big wins along the way. Is it safe to say that Saturday tops the list for you in your career?
I'm proud of all my wins, really, and even a couple losses too. But it's a good time to be Lauren Murphy right now. That's for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty jacked up about it, and I'm just so happy that I took a big risk going to a new camp right before this fight. The fight was already booked, and I went to a new camp, and not really new, I guess. I went back to like my old camp with some of my old coaches and stuff. But Bob Perez is a new coach to me. I have never had him in my corner before, and so just to like have it all pay off, everything that we worked in camp happened in the fight. I felt super comfortable in there. I stayed really calm. It was just a really great all-around experience. I think that it is one of my best performances for sure.
Yeah, and, kind of looking at the spectrum of the division and where you sat personally, I mean, this is a big fight for you because you were coming off the loss to Sajara. You had the foot injury that forced you out of the fight with Ashley Evans-Smith, and the division, in a way, was starting to move forward a little bit, sort of play itself out in all these different ways with all these new contenders emerging. But you entered that fight, still a top 10 fighter. Mara, I believe, was number 12. So there was, in a way, a lot on the line here. So how important was it for you to not only get a win, but, let these other ladies in this division know, don't be forgetting about me?
Yeah, super important. You always, you don't want people to overlook you at all, but to go in and get a knockout, I think that really makes a statement. And one of the things I think I'm most proud of is, when I hit her with that uppercut, it rocked her, and I was following up with a hook. And it's just nice to know that I have that power in my hands, and now the rest of the division knows too.
When you landed that uppercut, like you said, it rocked her, but then you landed that knee. What does that feel like? I mean, I've never landed a knee like that before. You did it in front of thousands and thousands of people on ESPN of all places. What did that knee feel like?
I wasn't really thinking too much in the moment, actually. When I rocked her with the uppercut, my mind kind of went blank, and I just got into like a flow state, started flowing and trying to cut off the cage, catch her. I knew I had hurt her, and it was time to finish the fight. So that sequence where like she shot and I kind of sprawled on her and got to that tie clinch position with the overhook, that's something I've drilled a million times, so I didn't have to think about it. I do remember looking to make sure that both of her hands were off the mat, and just being super glad that my feet were in the right position for me to throw that knee. I didn't have to take another second to do it. So when she went down, I saw that she wasn't defending herself at all, and I saw the ref out of the corner of my eye, so I knew it was probably going to be over.
Did things sort of change for you? Because you mentioned how you were flowy, so to speak, in that moment. You're in the fight. You're trying to get from one thing to another. It's just almost a natural progression. When the ref pulls you off and the fight's over, does it just open things up? You're like, wow, like this just happened? Is that when things changed for you?
Yeah, I couldn't even hold it in, just everything that I just remember thinking holy shit, I just got to finish in the top, when you're ranked in the UFC, anybody in the top 15 is going to be super tough to finish. They're all really tough fighters, and to get a good knockout like that, it's oh my God, and just all the relief of knowing that we're going to go home with 2 paychecks that night, that all my hard work had paid off. I don't know, it just all kind of hit me at once, and that's why I was freaking out after the fight. I was just so happy. I felt like a 1,000,000-pound weight was off my chest.
You mentioned, and we talked about it in the build up to the fight, how you moved your camp back to Texas with the old coaches, some new coaches as well. But you even, still a lot of love for the folks at the MMA lab. But this is something you had to do for yourself and something you had to do for your career. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And I know you gave the MMA lab a nice shout out during your post fight interview. But how did your friends and longtime teammates at the lab react to the win? Was your phone blowing up like crazy?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, I gave a shout out to all my girls at the MMA lab. Like I love the women at the lab. I mean, a lot of the guys too that are my teammates, but I'm very close to some of the women that train at the lab, and they were just like crying and jumping up and down. Like everybody was just so happy for me, and they get it. They understand why I had to go do my camp somewhere else, and it's not like there's any hard feelings or anything. So they really wanted to see me win just as much as I wanted to win, and that's kind of a special relationship to have. You don't always have relationships like that with other competitors, with other people. Like sometimes you'll meet another competitor and they don't really want you to win, and that's kind of a sad thing. But my girls at the MMA lab, they love me and they really wanted to see me be successful, especially this time. It was important.
Dominic Cruz kept saying in the fight that you needed to make this fight as dirty as possible, which you did. And I thought your wrestling defense was great, and you were able to shut that part of her game down for the most part. And you talked about how things went pretty much according to plan, but did anything Mara do in that fight surprise you at all?
She timed a really good shot. She in the second round, she took me down. I tried to throw a hook, and she just timed it really well, got in on my hips, and took me down perfectly. And we knew she would be throwing a lot of leg kicks and that she would be looking for the takedown a lot. So I honestly thought she would clinch more to look for the takedown. So not that the shot really surprised me, but just that she had timed it so well. I was like, fuck. But I was super happy to be able to get up like that. I think that's a really big improvement for me to not just stay on my back, So, yeah. And then, I was expecting more clinching in the fight, but that's okay.
You and I have been doing interviews and different things in the podcast world for an awful long time, and I know that your relationship with Twitter has been a rocky one, to say the least, over these years. But the Twitter world was very pro Lauren Murphy on Saturday. That knee was nasty, the elbows afterwards were brutal, and everybody loved it. It was universally praised. It was a highlight reel finish. It was all over the place. Was Saturday your favorite day in Twitter history?
Fuck Twitter. I don't know. Twitter's just for talking shit. It's a bunch of people that, I don't know, don't use their real names, talking to people they've never met about shit they know nothing about, saying things they don't mean. I mean, that's cool, I guess. There's definitely a place for Twitter, and I'll get in there and stir some shit up sometimes. But, yeah, I'm just not as into it as I used to be. Really, most of social media, I've kind of... not taking a break from, but I just take it so much less seriously than I used to,
We talked about all the sacrifices here between you, your family. You guys all sacrificed a lot for that win, being away from home and your family as you prepare for this one. I mean, your team, the community around you in Texas working with you, getting you ready, keeping your mind right. With the result that happened on Saturday, I know we touched on this a little bit, but seeing those sacrifices pay off, everyone coming through for you the way that they did in the build up to this fight, what does that all mean to you?
I can't even begin to tell you, dude. This is kind of personal. This is maybe more than you were looking for, but I spent a lot of time when I got sober just believing that I was such a piece of shit and that I didn't deserve anything good to happen to me. And it's only been in the last couple of years that sorry, you're getting me all kind of emotional. It's only been in the last couple of years that I've really kind of accepted that I am a really good person, and that I do deserve to have good things in my life, And so to see people in Texas and in Arizona just support me so much and lift me up and want the best for me, to me it meant much more, I think, than just going and winning a fight. It really reaffirmed that the work that I've been doing on myself as a person is starting to pay off too. For one of the first times in my life, I've started to believe that I am a good person and I am worth having these good things in my life and being surrounded by good people and having success, And I think that I think what I had told myself for so long was that I didn't deserve those things, and I kind of manifested that in my own life, you know, without even really meaning to. But I am surrounded by really good people now that care about me a lot, and I have a ton of really good friends that love me exactly the way I am, and they want to see me succeed. I do, like, I have a great marriage with my husband. I have a phenomenal teenage son. Well, he's 18, he's an adult now, but like, he's just such a great kid. He's turning into a really wonderful man. And I don't know, I'm just starting to really believe that, like, I actually do deserve these things, and I've worked hard for them. So it really does mean a lot to me. And I've made a ton of new friends here in Texas that they were just so happy for me, you know, and the hard work that we all put in as a team and all of the sacrifices that we made together, like, they got to see that manifest too on Saturday night. It's pretty cool.
What was that conversation with your son like after the fight?
He was the first person I called, and we were both crying. I was like, "Oh my God, I won!" He was like, "I know," and he's just so proud, you know, because there's definitely been other phone calls where I called him and said, "I'm so sorry, but I didn't win tonight," and he's never, like, been like, "Oh," he always says, "I thought you won." Like, no matter what, he always says that. So to actually get the win, he's just so beyond proud. And his friends are, like, super jacked up about it too, which I think is kind of new to him. So his friends were like, "Holy shit, your mom's a badass." So that gives him a little extra clout, I think, you know?
He's got some street cred now.
Right, exactly, yeah. And they're all, like, techno wizards. So, like, one of his friends is making, like, a highlight reel of the finishing sequence, and it's like he, like, somehow has added in, like, Super Saiyan electricity, like, running through my body, and music in the background and stuff. So whenever he gets that done, I'll share it with you guys.
I'd love to see it. Everything was great on Saturday. Were you disappointed you didn't get a bonus for that finish? I mean, you knew after seeing what Jim Miller did, he was definitely getting a bonus in his hometown after that quick finish. But were you a little bummed? Was there a little piece of you that was a little bit bummed you didn't get a bonus after that?
It'd always be nice to get bonus, you know, after a performance like that, especially. And I did have my fingers crossed, but fuck, it was a tough night for bonuses. There was several really good fights. I thought Scott Holtzman's fight deserved fight of the night. He looked phenomenal. I knew that the girls that did get it, Pudilova and Shevchenko, I knew that they were getting bonus somehow. Either Antonina was going to get 50 grand for her rear naked choke, or they were going to get fight of the night. And then Jim Miller, it was a tough night for bonuses. So I'm not too bitter about it. You know, I'm actually really happy that we were on a good card, because it's like, it's always nice to get bonused, but it's cool to be on good cards like that too. And just to have such a good finish on ESPN with a lot of eyes on me is like, I'll take it, you know.
When you spoke to the media afterwards, you discussed, you know, things that potentially could be next for you. And I agree with you that there are a lot of fun matchups for you at 125 in that division. And I know you mentioned Alexis Davis, Roxanne Modafferi were two names you spoke about because you have a lot of respect for both of them. You haven't shared the cage with them yet. And actually, last night I hosted a little media debate podcast, and people were throwing out Antonina Shevchenko as a good matchup because, you know, you got the old recency bias argument with, you know, you guys being on the same card, both getting finishes. You know, the pickings aren't slim, as the legend goes, for you. So if you had it your way, what fight does make the most sense to you?
For me, honestly, I think I really want to fight like a longtime vet, like Roxanne Modafferi or Alexis Davis. And the thing that I like about those fights is that those girls are so good on the ground that I can't just take them down and hope to win by TKO or by being on top, which is obviously my preferred method, is get in there, make it dirty. But like, I can't do that with those girls. They would really kind of force me out of my comfort zone. And they're both of those fights have fight of the night written all over it. Roxanne is I think she's a multiple time bonus winner. Alexis Davis just cannot help herself but be in a war every single fight she has. So I would love to fight either one of those girls. But like you said, the pickings are not slim. The other thing is that Antonina is going to be around a long time, and I don't want to miss my chance to fight Roxanne or Alexis, while they're in the top 10, while they're ranked above me, while they're popular fighters and well known in the division. You know, like I said, fighters aren't here for a long time. Like, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. So you got to catch those fights while you can, you know, and maybe in the time between, like, maybe if I train to fight Antonina and then I get a fight with Antonina and then they fight, and those girls end up fighting other people, it could be a year or two before we end up getting matched up, you know. But Antonina's pretty fresh in the division. She's working her way up, and so she's going to be around a long time.
When would you like to return? You know, the schedule for the rest of the year is pretty much out there. Is there a specific card you'd like to get back on? I know what your answer's going to be. I don't care. Whatever card they want to put me on, they'll put me on as soon as possible. But is there any card in particular, like, that you'd like to fight on? Boston, San Francisco, is a place in the country you'd like to travel that you haven't fought in before that you would like to?
Yeah, I'd like to fight in the Pacific Northwest because I promised my friend Aurora that we would go, like, we always check out the city after we fight, but she was like, we have to go to the woods at some point. Like, she's like a nature person, so I told her if we fight in the Pacific Northwest, we'll go check out, like, some mountains and shit like that. But I want to fight in late October. Yeah, that would be, like, ideal for me to fight, like, I don't know, maybe last weekend in October or first weekend in November, somewhere around in there, or, like, something like that. So if Mick Maynard can make that happen last weekend in October or the weekend before, like, that would be just awesome. Halloween weekend, yeah, we'll put on, it'll be bloody, you know what I mean?
You and Roxanne on Halloween weekend, that'd be like the best thing ever.
Oh, dude, that'd be wild. She'll bring the costumes and I'll bring the gore.
Obviously, big fight coming up on Saturday. Valentina Shevchenko versus Liz Carmouche for the women's flyweight title. There's some history there. I know they fought 9 years ago. It was a doctor's stoppage, but Liz Carmouche does have a little history on her side, getting a win over Valentina. But Valentina just looks so good as of late. How do you see this thing playing out?
Fuck, I don't know. I hate trying to call fights because it's like anything could happen. But I think if Liz can get her hands on Shevchenko, she could have a really good night. So, and I'm kind of rooting for Liz just because I fought Liz before, you know. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm rooting for Liz. We'll see what happens. But if there's anybody in the division that's hard to get your hands on, it's going to be Valentina. You know, so it's a really cool stylistic matchup. I've said this a couple times now, but nobody in the division is stronger than Liz Carmouche, like physically, nobody. And her cardio is going to be super sick. She's doing all that, like, underwater training. She's been doing a ton of grappling the last couple of years, like competing at a really high level for grappling and really putting herself out there. So I think stylistically, she's like, you know, very opposite of Valentina. And it's going to take all of Valentina's skills and all her footwork and really good timing to make sure that, you know, she doesn't fall into Carmouche's clinch.
I'm sure you have a lot of people to thank, so I'm going to give you the floor to do that. Also, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on social media to listen to your proverbial trash talk and the stirring of the pot when you choose to go on there and do that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, first of all. And I just want to give a big shout out to my team out here in Texas, to Crew Bob and everybody at Grindhouse, everybody at Main Street Muay Thai. Like, they really did right by me this camp, and they're definitely going to see me again. So I'll be, you know, taking just a short couple-week break, and then I'm coming back out to Houston to give back to those guys that helped me so much, you know. And then I really want to thank also a sponsor that I have that made the camp possible, Rod Keys CBD, Rod Keys USA. So they are all over my Instagram, which I'll give you guys in a second. But I literally could not have had a camp without them. They've just done right by me from the minute I started working with them, and their products are super, super clean. So I do have a discount code for you guys if you're interested in trying some CBD products. They have them for people, they have them for pets, and they have every type of product you could possibly imagine. So hit me up or hit them up. They're all over my Instagram, which is Lauren Murphy MMA, and that's Instagram, Twitter. Find me on Twitter, I guess. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram for sure, and then Facebook too. So yeah.
Good stuff, Laura. Congratulations on the win. Thank you for the time as always. We look forward to seeing what is next for you.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Me too. I can't wait.